At this time, I'd like to call to order the Monday, September 28th, 2020 regular meeting of the Page County School Board. Roll call.
Mr. Lansbury.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Mr. Gugler.
Yes.
Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Snoot.
Yes.
Mr. Grimley.
Yes,
All present.
thank you. At this time, please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do we have any agenda changes or additions?
Mr. Chairman, no, Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have one.
All right,
I'd like to add an action item for a more comprehensive masking requirement.
So that will be 4.03.
and that will be item 4.03. If the board, yes. That will be action item 4.03. At this time, we need a roll call vote to certify personnel matters discussed. We need a motion. Pardon?
Dr. Painter.
Yes.
Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Mr. Lansbury.
Yes.
Mr. Gugler.
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Snoot.
Yes.
Mr. Grimley.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. At this time, we would invite citizen comment.
Would you like me to read these while we
Yes.
wait? Okay, Jenna Hill, 1567 Ayler Grubbs Avenue, Stanley. Just wanted to commend all of you teachers and staff for all you're doing to get through the school year. You're all doing an excellent job, and thank you for not giving up or throwing in the towel when you realized how hard this year would be. It speaks volumes about the character of each and every one of you. Hang in there, you're so appreciated. Carolyn from Luray. Definitely not understanding the attendance nor the grading system this year. How is it that a remote student that turns in no work at all still earns a 50%, but a child that attends school 2 days a week and completes a ton of work the other 3 days can still get a 50% if they would happen not to understand something? With the attendance, how are remote students counted present, but if a blended student misses one of the 2 days, they are to be in school, even if it's because of symptoms, they're counted absent. This is an issue, and as a parent of both an honor roll and excellent attendance student, I have an issue with both. Toby Longenecker, tlong008@odu.edu. I would like some clarification on recess procedures and guidelines with COVID. It seems each schools are doing different things as far as playground structures, equipment like balls, jump ropes, etc., and games. Obviously, physical health and safety are number one priority, but mental health and wellness is a close second. If classes are staying within their cohort, it would seem that would be relatively safe for the students to use items easily sanitized versus walking around the track with no stimulation. Tara Fox, Shenandoah, Virginia. I feel like the instruction is very minimal. We have had a couple of teachers record instructions by audio, which helps. The learning without teacher instruction really hinders the learning process. Navigating through Schoology more than doubles the length of time spent doing what it would be for classwork normally. This is incredibly frustrating for students and parents.
Thank you. Welcome. I'd ask you to come to the microphone, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes for your comment.
Okay. Ethan Hilliard, 39 Power Dam Road, Luray, Virginia, 22835. My name is Ethan Hilliard, and I have 4 kids in the Page County school system. I have kids at Luray Elementary and kindergarten, 2nd, 5th. I also have a child in 7th grade at Luray Middle School. I'm here today speaking on behalf of my family, but I know a lot of people that came tonight and those that couldn't make it that feel the same way I do. We do not feel like we are being represented by the state or the leaders of this board as it pertains to the current school schedule. We want our kids back to school full-time in person. I realize there are those concerned about getting COVID-19, and I empathize with them. I'm not asking them to come back full-time if they're not comfortable doing so. However, for most of the parents my wife and I have talked to, the risk is worth the reward. I could stand up here and read stats from various reputable scholarly organizations to support my reasoning for returning to school full-time in person, but I don't think that's effective. Instead, I'll present you with personal events from my family we are experiencing. For kids grade 3 through 8, teachers are attempting to cram a full week of instruction into 2 days. Kids sit at home reading directions that aren't clear, struggle through work that may or may not be correct, and wait for teachers to respond to their many and frequent questions. I have a bachelor's degree in history, and I can't figure out what they're supposed to do. My oldest son is in 7th grade and is a straight A student. He is struggling to understand what he's supposed to be doing to the point he is at times in tears. My 5th grader has so much English work, it would take an entire day to complete. He can do very little of his work unassisted. My 2 youngest children are going 4 days a week, and the quality of education is much better than my older 2. God has blessed us that my wife can work part-time as an RN. She is at home with my kids, helping with their school work a lot. In most households, both parents work full-time, and I have no idea how they're doing this. It is even harder for single-parent homes or children with grandparents, and then add siblings to this already difficult workload. There are also not so obvious consequences due to the current school schedule. There are social skills and critical relationships not being developed by students. The lack of daily structure with limited in-person teaching does not encourage learning, but creates lazy mental approach of it's good enough in our children. When my kids are in school full-time, they get in a mental learning routine and are prepared to learn. During this current school year, the only consistency I'm seeing is confusion and complacency. There's no doubt in my mind the teachers are doing their best considering the circumstances. I place the blame for this overreaction of altered school schedules on Governor Northam, the Virginia Department of Education, the Virginia Department of Health, and school boards like the ones like you guys for not pushing back and representing the majority of parents with kids in Page County Public Schools. And why? Safety of the kids, liability. According to the CDC, COVID-19 has an infection fatality ratio among kids 0 to 19 years of age of 0.0003%. Why is liability for COVID any different than influenza, stomach bug, or strep that ravages our schools annually? I end with this quote from French philosopher Desiderius Erasmus, who said, "The main hope of a nation lies in the proper education of its youth. Our kids are not getting proper education. America's hope is ultimately in God. God has placed each of you in a position to influence change for our children's proper education. Do what's best for the children of Page County. Restore their hope by empowering them with knowledge through proper education, 5 days a week in person." My last little bit. I asked my son today when he came home from school, what did you do? He said, we caught up on the things that the other kids didn't do this week that I already completed. It's your responsibility.
Thank you.
address is 1100 Parkview Estates Road, Luray, Virginia. Good evening, my name is Pamela Boyd. I'm here speaking on behalf of many parents in this community, an overwhelming number who have been openly voicing their concerns for their children's well-being and education in regards to the current school schedule. I have 2 school-age children, one being a pre-K student who will very soon attend public school, the other my stepson, a 6th grader who currently attends Mount Carmel, as decided by my husband and his mother due to the impossible demands she'd have as a stay-at-home mom with multiple kids. But this is not a feasible long-term solution for our family. It has been a few weeks of virtual or remote learning, and I'm here to tell you it is not working. Have you experienced virtual or remote learning? Like really sat in a home with families, struggling to make this work? Have you witnessed the meltdowns of both students and parents, the fights and frustrations of not understanding the day's agenda, or math lessons or technology failures, the onset of depression kids are experiencing due to sitting all day alone? Have you sat in the home of families of multiple kids struggling to get through the day, either tied to a computer or consumed with a paper packet? They feel held hostage in their own home. If you have not witnessed this, I beg you to stop telling parents that you understand and start listening. Parents knows what is best for their children. We are going to fight to make things right. Children being in school together every day. Virtual or remote learning was supposed to be an option to families that felt unsafe re-entering schools. As this can remain an option, in-person education is the only option for many of us. For parents who work, single-parent homes, children with learning disabilities, it is the only acceptable option. Parents are not meant to be teachers, social workers, or principals in their homes. Teachers are not supposed to work twice as hard to make half the difference with the same pay. Let me say that again. Teachers are working twice as hard to make half the difference for the same pay. If you truly feel that children are getting the same education with the current plan as they would in person full-time, perhaps gaining some insight for what these families and teachers are enduring is very necessary. Stores are open, daycares are open, restaurants are open. The fact that schools remain mostly closed is baffling. How can it be authorized for a group of very young children who do not fully understand the concept of keeping their hands and germs to themselves can gather in a classroom, but older children who are in the thick of their educational journey are forced to stay home and struggle to learn every day? If preschoolers can manage, perhaps have more confidence in our older children as well. Regardless of your intentions with virtual or remote learning, it is not working. We are not okay with watching our children's education regress rather than improve. I'm not okay with hearing my 11-year-old niece tell me she feels as if she's in a hole and she can't get out. She also has a 504 plan. It is not acceptable watching children with IEPs and 504 plans not receive their accommodations. We are not okay hearing our kids calling themselves stupid when they do not understand something. We are not okay knowing that school is, for many children, the only place they are given love, food, or friendship, yet we have taken that safe place away.
Thank you. You need to kind of wrap it up.
I'm almost done. We are not okay watching our seniors start their year at home. This is a vital period of time they are preparing for a higher education, yet they have been given subpar circumstances to do so. We are not okay with our children losing their social and emotional health over fear of a virus. These decisions have been made by individuals who do not spend any time alongside these children. It is very clear there's a considerable disconnect between the expectations of teachers and parents and those making these decisions for them. This is destroying children's relationship with learning. Was it ever considered how much frustration and resentment this would create toward their classwork? Did you realize that students that once loved school hate their new normal? I am begging you to listen. Listen to your teachers, to your families, push back, and represent the majority of the students and parents of this county. God has given you this privilege and responsibility to advocate for an acceptable education system for this community. Strive to do what is right for your district and our children.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would ask that you come to the microphone, state your name and your physical address, and limit your remarks to 3 minutes.
All right. My name is Beth Davis Murphy, 735 Fleaburg Loop, Shenandoah, Virginia, 22849. I have 2 kids that go to Page High School. I have Tori Davis, who is a senior, who hopefully is going to graduate with her associate's degree in allied health, and she will be the first student in Page County to graduate as a foreign language and sign language. I have Ty Davis, who is avid football, ADHD from the age of 3, who struggles with school at the easiest level. I have 2 kids, each end of the spectrum. I want to welcome the opportunity to speak here tonight in behalf of our children. We can all definitely recognize that these are difficult and fearful times we are all living in. People everywhere are struggling to understand, to adapt, to resist fear, and above all, to protect our children. As parents and teachers, we struggle every day to continue to give our children faith, hope, strength, and above all else, the promise that this too shall pass. Please know that all of your hard work and decisions do not go unnoticed. We must acknowledge that our children will be the ultimate victims of this pandemic. The effects of our children are not only seen immediately, but unfortunately, years to be seen. The decision made by this board will have lasting effects on the rest of their lives, and I realize that it is a big responsibility for each and every one of you. Our children demand the best that we can give them, wise and just decisions. They deserve not only to have a voice, but also to feel like they matter. Can we honestly say our children feel like they matter? Can we honestly say that our children feel like they are a part of the decision-making process on how school is going? What can they do to make a difference? I was told by one of the teachers that 50 to 60% of Page, or not 50 per 60, but 50 to 60 students in Page County not having Wi-Fi, with the board feeling it necessary to just keep it at a level playing for all students. If that is truly the case, we have lowered ourselves and our students to the lowest common denominator. Think about that. That may seem to be most just decision, but more often than not, it simply becomes, do you want me, I saw you. Oh, sorry, I saw you going like this. I'm like, simply becomes an exercise in lowering standards across the board. It may seem just, but it's not. You are sacrificing one segment of the children for the sake of another. If this is the case, we all have done is feed the stigmatism that Page County has always had, that they lower the standards and the curve for Page County students that we just couldn't meet. Lowering the standards to the lowest common denominator may be a quick solution, but it is a solution in which we are all losers. We need to set the bar higher so our kids can have the choice to go viral or to go to school. This situation calls for strong leadership, courage, and convictions above all, putting the children first and foremost in your decision making. Your responsibility is heavy, but it is in your power to choose wisely and courageously for the future of our children.
Yeah, we need to be wrapping it up.
Okay, let me just stop reading, because this is just crap. I feel like we need to bring the kids into the decision-making process. I've got Tori, who's a senior. She's involved in everything she can get her hands on, but she has no say. Let our clubs come together with what they can do to make a difference in making the schools safer. Let the clubs step up, let the sports, let the kids feel like they have purpose. We've taken it away from them. We've given them all this homework, and they feel like nobody's instructing them. It's not only hard on the kids, but it's hard on the teachers. I mean, they're making phone calls at night, and they have to hear all of everybody's complaints and concerns, and they have their own issues. You know, I've been a nurse for 25 years. And all of this, I've had a handful of COVID patients. I go from Rockingham to Culpeper to Charlottesville. The virus is real, but what's more real is the victims that the virus is taking. We can make a difference. We can make a difference. Use universal precautions. Don't spit on anybody. Don't pick your nose. Social distancing. But I think we need to bring these kids together and let the students feel like they matter. They don't matter. Nobody's given them a chance. Nobody's given them an opportunity. We've taken away sports. We've taken away.
Thank you. We understand. your concerns,
I
and
just
we
feel like-
share those concerns. Thank you.
We can make a difference, though. The kids can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. I ask that you come to the microphone, you state your name and your address, and that you limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Sir, my name is Blake Pfeiffer, and my address is 566 North 5th Street, Shenandoah, Virginia. And the Schoology thing is not working because some teachers are giving us things late, and sometimes we're getting them not graded and stuff. And also, Hanover County has, or Top Louisa County serving 4,900 students, and they only have 289 cases and 6 deaths, and they're going 5 days a week. And Augusta County is having 10,362 students, and they have 494 cases and 7 deaths. So I was wondering why, and so why can't we go? And Hanover County has 18,000 and only 5,434 cases and 211 deaths, and they're going 100% face-to-face for 5 days, or all online. And then for us, we're serving 9,719. That's us. You don't have to come in. I swear.
Can I speak since I'm his Maggie? I'm Dana Pfeiffer, I live the same age, I'm his mother. But when these larger counties with, one of them in particular, Hanover County, has 18,000 students enrolled, and they can go 5 days a week, why can't our kids? Our kids are being failed by this county, especially the high school level. They struggle, so many kids are struggling, y'all have no idea. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
We've had 4.
Thank you. I ask that you come to the microphone, state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes for your comment.
Yes, sir. I'd like to thank you guys for listening to me today. My name is Beth Ansell. I live at 210 Virginia Avenue, Luray, Virginia. I have 2 high school students, a 9th and a 10th grader, and I come here tonight because of them. My kids are not going to school, and I don't understand why. So I understand this is not a question period, but I ask these questions rhetorically. I do not understand why my children are not in school. I'm an avid reader. I looked at the 280-page document today, the Virginia plan. Per the Virginia plan, I don't understand why we aren't in school. We are in phase 3. Phase 3 says that there can be in-person learning. And I don't understand why we aren't in person. I understand we have to socially distance and wear masks and do everything to keep our kids safe and our teachers safe. But we can do in person, and I don't understand why we are not. I feel the state of Virginia says we can, and I think we were planning to up until like school was getting ready to get started when the plan all of a sudden got changed. One week I was talking to my child's school about their IEP, and we were in person, and then a week later, nothing. So I don't understand why the change occurred, and I think I would like some transparency from the board. I would like to know why my kid is not in school. I've asked, I've sent some emails. Mr. Benson nicely reached back to me, and he said that they are trying to hire some subs, that 5 have been hired at this point. If it's a personnel issue, that needs to be resolved. And if not, then let the people of Page County know why our kids aren't in school. I understand some people do not want to send their kids to school, and they have their valid reasons, and that's fine. We live in America, we should be allowed to choose. So those of us that are choosing for in-person instruction, please let our kids go to school. My children's lives are miserable. I have 2 kids who are home sitting with headaches because they've looked at a computer screen all day. And I don't want that for my kids. They deserve to be in person. And there can be precautions put in place and safely. They're doing it all across the nation. I have friends on Facebook I see in Illinois and Tennessee. Kids are living normal lives and are going to school. One of my friend's daughters got crowned homecoming queen. They are missing out on these life experiences that they're never going to get back. And the suicide rates and the depression, it's just, I feel like pretty soon we're going to start to be seeing those really negative effects. And I want us to do all we can to get our kids back in school before those happen. And I know each of you guys ran for office because you had a desire to help people. Well, I would ask that you listen to the people that have spoken tonight and take into consideration, what the science says. We've been told along, follow the science. A Washington Post report came out on the 23rd that said what they thought was going to happen didn't happen. There's not these wide outbreaks in schools. There's an occasional outbreak in schools, but you guys have done a great job dealing with those. We get an email. I understand. Okay? I appreciate your time, and I thank all my classroom teachers and all the administration. I know they're working really hard, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I would ask that you come to the microphone, state your name and your physical address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Yes, sir. My name is Pam Wilson, 2656 Fleaburg Road, Shenandoah, Virginia. And I don't have anything prepared tonight to write down or anything, but I want to know why my child's not in school. We have, last week alone, my child had 17 hours of geometry work. 17 hours. We are on the Schoology. I'm one of the lucky parents that get to work from home right now during the pandemic, and I can't even help her. We do Zoom meetings at my job. She can't even figure out Schoology. I don't know why we're not Zooming in if we cannot come back to school. If it's because 40 to 60 students do not have Wi-Fi, the state pays the schools for our children, pay for them children to have Wi-Fi or bus them in. Mr. Kell is letting 50 students come to Page County High School to use the Wi-Fi if they need to. Who picks those 50 kids? What 50 kids get to go? I don't understand. So if it's not an even playing field right now. We should be able, if we have to stay at home, our children, should be able to zoom in and watch their teacher doing work, not send a question and get a response 2 hours later because it's not in their working time. They need to be working it's hard on the teachers, it's hard on the students. They're losing their education, they're losing social skills. She's in marching band, had marching band this summer. She had to wear a mask outside to play the drums. But the other students who played the instruments didn't have to. It makes no sense. The statistics show that children, 99.997 survival rate if they had COVID-19. There is no reason that our schools should be shut down. We need to get our children back in school. And the 50 students that get to go, who's going to pick those students? I spoke to him today. My child's going to go 3 hours a day. But what about the ones who can? I know one now that's going to front row to sit with their parents to use their Wi-Fi because they can't get Wi-Fi at their job. This is not acceptable. It's really not acceptable. And that's all I have to say. We need to open the schools.
Thank you. Thank you. I would ask that you come to the microphone, state your name and your physical address, and you have 3 minutes for your comment.
Okay, hello, my name is Amelia King. I live at 7 Deerfield Drive, Luray, Virginia. I have 2 students in school, 5th grade and 8th grade. And I simply wanted to say that children should be a parent's #1 priority, and education should be your #1 priority. What you are asking of parents and children is unreasonable, and you know full well that the children under your instructional care are not going to be able to learn sufficiently when they are not in the classroom. They are being left behind. But what I think has been lost over the years is the ability for the school board to act in the best interest of your community. When we elect you, the officials, we the citizens expect you to rule on our behalf and with our interest at your foremost. Ultimately, we the people are who you are supposed to care about. You have been put in this position to ensure that our children receive the education they deserve and that we have paid for. We want our children back in school full-time. Last Wednesday, I had to explain to my children that the public education system is failing them and that I was withdrawing them from the school. This whole situation is a huge tragedy, and we all cried as if someone died. It is not okay for the children to be left to their own devices all day. It is not okay that you spend over $40 million taxpayer dollars in the name of education and expect working parents to do the teacher's job and to also struggle with childcare. It's not okay to expect your teachers to do double duty for at-home students, blended students, and work into the night answering millions of emails. And most importantly, it is not okay to sacrifice our children's well-being just so that you can claim what you are doing is remotely worthwhile. The children are ultimately being left behind because you are ruling in fear and without common sense. I hope you did not sign up for a popularity contest, because what we need is officials that are willing to charge, are willing to change and do what is right for our community. And that means bringing our children back to the schoolhouse every day. We do not have to go along with other districts. Every district has different needs. You need to focus on ours. We want our leaders. We need followers, or excuse me, we want leaders, not followers. You need to be strong. You need to be the pioneers. And with that being said, let me remind every one of you and every parent that we, the parents, are strong. We are the leaders. We ultimately decide what is right for our children. No one can make us accept the school board's decision to keep our children from getting an education. If you don't like the way things are, and I'm talking to the parents, simply stop participating. The game will end if you stop playing. Put down the pens and paper packets. Simply stop sending in the schoolwork. You are the parent. You decide what will happen. Actions speak louder than words, and it is time to act.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would ask that you state your name and physical address, and you have 3 minutes for your comment.
Okay. Hi, I'm Pam Baker. My address is 119 Edgewood Drive, Luray, Virginia. And I'm just coming here to just plead with you guys to please open the schools back up for all the kids, especially high schoolers. I've got a daughter that's a junior in high school, and she's an A student, and she struggles. I mean, she's up till 3:30 in the morning trying to get homework done. And she takes classes at the tech center as well. So, you know, she's trying to make it, but it's a struggle. And then I have Jake. He's in 4th grade. And last week alone, I did 17 hours of homework with him, not counting that he goes to school 2 days a week. You know, he goes when he can. So I just think that's way too much. And then my daughter Erica's in 2nd grade. And of course, she's allowed to go 4 days. But I just ask that y'all just please open it back up, at least blend it for high school. Give them an opportunity to get back into school for a little bit, to take some of the pressure off of them, the parents and the teachers. I work at the high school in the cafeteria, and I just think that if you open the schools back up, it's even gonna help the schools, because we're gonna be able to put more lunches out to the kids. Now we're not getting a lot of lunches. And I think the kids would be able to have meals more at them, to be able to serve them. And like, I feel we're leaving the kids out. We was always a county that kids are first, no child left behind. And I feel the kids are the ones that's left behind. We're opening sports back up, which I think is a great thing. But what are kids aren't gonna get into college on sports alone. they've got to have the academics to back it. And the only way they're gonna get it is they get in school teaching. I do my best I can, but I'm not a qualified teacher. And we have great teachers in this county, and I think you need to let them do their job. And I'll just let my husband talk. I'm too nervous.
Daniel Baker, 119 Edgewood Drive, Luray. I just come to tell y'all, you know, we're back and forth on this, and everybody knows what's going on, so it's no need for me to waste my time talking about the COVID and all this stuff. We know the percentages, but that it has a great survival rate. And we're arguing over this when we're letting babies being killed by millions. And I just think that we would solve a couple of the problems. I'm not saying all problems, but I'm going to say we can solve all the problems by going back to Jesus for number one. Looking to him. Y'all all need to pray and ask Jesus for an answer to all this. And these kids need to be in school because they're missing out. I mean, we can do what we can. I travel all night. I go through 4 states a night. Don't have to wear a mask. But I come in here and I got to wear a mask. You know, it's just crazy. I go to Philadelphia every night. And I don't have to wear a mask or anything. And that's in Philadelphia. But then come home and 17 trying to help the kids with homework and stuff like that. I mean, that's what we're paid. We pay our taxes in order to pay the teachers to do this stuff. And I feel that if you deep down, if each of y'all would ask the Lord for guidance, then we could come up with a great solution for this and get these kids back in the schools where they need to be, because they need their education. I don't want my kids left behind. And I appreciate it if y'all would listen to some of the remarks that was made today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd ask that you come to the microphone, state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes to make your comment.
My name is Jessica Matthews, address 343 Good Mill Road, Rileyville, Virginia.
I'm sorry, your last name.
Matthews. Okay, this is some research that I've done that I need you guys to be aware of. I hope that you not only listen, but you truly hear what I'm saying. A review of studies conducted on pandemics found a strong association between length of quarantine and post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms, avoidance behavior, anger. Another review published this year found that post-traumatic stress disorder scores of children and parents in quarantine were 4 times higher than those not quarantined. In-person schooling provides children with access to a variety of mental health and social services, including speech-language therapy and physical and occupational therapy to help the physical and psychological and academic well-being of the child. Further, school counselors are trained in mental health needs of children and youth and can recognize signs of trauma that our primary caregivers are less able to see because themselves are experiencing the same family stresses. School counselors can then coordinate with teachers to implement interventions to offer children a reassuring environment for regaining the sense of order, security, and normalcy. Without in-person schooling, many children can lose access to these services. For example, we know that even outside the context of school closures, children often do not receive the mental health treatment that they need. Among children ages 9 through 17, it is estimated that 21% or more than 14 million children experience some type of mental health condition, yet only 16% of those without a condition receive any treatment. Of those, 70 to 80% receive such care in school setting. School closures can be damaging for the 7.4 million children suffering from serious emotional disturbance. For those individuals who have diagnosable mental, behavioral, emotional condition that substantially interferes with or limits school functioning, schools play an extremely important role linking them to the care necessary for those services. I need you guys to really, really hear us. These kids need to be back in school. What about the children who don't have a loving home environment? The school, the teachers, that's the only way they get it. Their food, that's the only time they get food. Please listen to us and hear what we are saying to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe that's it, but we'll check and make sure.
If they didn't sign up by 6:30, that's it.
That's it.
This time we'll close the citizen comment period and move on to action items. The first one is claims for payment. Ms. Seifert.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. You have been provided with the claim certification and board docs. The total operating fund is $244,355.58. Food service, $156,171.65. Total expenditures, $400,527.23. Along with that, you've also been provided the list of claims as well as the check register. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Is there a motion to approve the claims for payment?
I make a motion that we approve the claims for payment as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not,
Mr. Painter,
Yes.
Mr. Lansbury,
Yes.
Mr. Gubler,
Yes.
Dr. Painter,
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Grimley.
yes,
The motion passed.
thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is action on matters discussed in closed session. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion that we accept the items and matters discussed in closed session to include the appointments, transfers, and a stipend.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Vote, please.
Mr. Lansbury,
Yes.
Mr. Gubler,
Yes.
Dr. Painter,
Yes.
Mr. Painter,
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Grimley.
Yes.
The motion passed.
We have action item 4.03 brought forward by Mr. Gubler, a more comprehensive mask program. Mr. Gubler, if you would like to present.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The details of what I'm proposing is similar to what VDH put forth for a short period of time back a couple weeks ago. So the details are pretty simple. It would be to require that all staff and students above age 10 be required to wear a mask at all times indoors.
Is there a motion to support Mr. Gubler's more comprehensive masking as presented? Mr. Gubler, are you making that as a motion?
Yes, I am. I
You heard the motion. Is there a second?
I have a question.
We can't have a question until we have
I'll second it just to get the question.
Mr. Painter has seconded. Discussion?
Are we not doing that now, including mask breaks?
We aren't. There's a 6-foot distance, social distancing requirement that if that is met indoors, then one doesn't have to wear a mask in the buildings. What I'm saying, what I'm proposing is that that staff would wear masks at all times in buildings, irrespective of the 6-foot social distancing.
And why did you want to bring this forth, Mr. Kubler?
Why I want to bring it forward?
Yes.
So, as we're approaching cooler weather, fall, winter, we're likely to see greater prevalence of coronavirus. There's going to be more people coming indoors, not just students and teachers and staff coming indoors to the school, but more family members coming indoors, more chance for transmission of COVID-19, greater infection rates, and that's what I'm very, very much concerned about in the school settings. That's just one reason.
I don't know that there's gonna be a relaxation of visitors in the school buildings, and I'm getting, from the administrative staff that may not be the situation. So my take on this is we hire staff to make decisions in our buildings, and I respect the decisions that they're making. And I don't know that we want to slide down a slippery slope where school boards start mandating how things occur. That's the way I feel about it. And it has really less to do with wearing a mask than school boards mandating what happens in the building. That's my problem.
If you look at other school systems, Warren County, Rappahannock County, I believe, other counties are successfully doing this. This is not an out-of-the-box proposition. This is something that is going on in school systems around us. It's not unreasonable, and it basically comes back to how is the best way to protect our staff. Our staff are going to be the ones that have the highest risk of contracting the deadly COVID-19, the potentially deadly COVID-19. Children can get it too. So this basically comes back to the safety of our staff and to our kids, especially those kids that are above age 10.
Well, I would like to hear from our administration how you think it's going so far. I mean,
Dr. Gonzalez?
Yes, I hear Mr. Google's concerns. I will say that we are adhering to the guidance given to us from the DDOE and the DDA. Yes, masking, having both parties mask is a preferable way, but with the 6-foot distancing, that's where you don't have to wear the mask, and the bigger the distance, the better. Certainly when you're less than 6 feet, you want to have all parties with the mask on. I'm not sure where Mr. Google is getting some of his science and stuff and facts from, because this point, until the medical expert tells us otherwise, or until we lessen our social distance, that I would just be cautious about changing it now, because again, that's just how a lot of our families made their decisions. Not saying that it would be something we look at later as things change, because goodness knows we have to change on a dime, we have to pivot immediately. But at this point, we feel confident in following the guidelines that we've been given at this point. In reference to the other school divisions, again, I'm on calls with a lot of varying superintendents, and I haven't heard any of them say where they mandate it all the time. But again, I might miss a couple of them and not know that. But I can certainly investigate that to see. But I would imagine that they made that clear at the beginning before their families made the choice of the plan that they're making.
Thank you.
If Mr. Benson or Mr. Moran have anything to add, or especially Ms. Moran, who helped develop the health plan that was approved by DOE.
Yeah, we're following the guidelines of the Virginia Department of Health, and that's what we approve our health plan with, or we talk to and get guidance from, so that's what we've been doing.
Thank you. The further
So,
discussion.
Mr. Chairman, the last thing I'll say is, you guys are the school system is following the minimum guidelines by VDH. Let's make that clear. And COVID-19 can aerosolize. We all know that. We've all read the research. That means indoors, beyond 6 feet, the viral particles can spread, especially when you have more kids, more teachers in a classroom. Check the science. It's there.
Thank you. More discussion. Call for the vote.
Mr. Goodler,
Yes.
Dr. Kramer,
No.
Mr. Painter,
No.
Mr. Lansbury,
No.
Mrs. Sullivan Smoot,
No.
Mr. Grimley.
No.
The motion failed.
Thank you. We move on now to informational items. We have a Schoology, school somebody presentation.
Mr. Chairman, we've asked one of our newest ITRTs, Mrs. Nicole Brumfield, to be with us this evening so we could have as a school board presentation so you guys could begin to understand a little bit more about Schoology and the learning management system. Nicole is going to use her environmental science class as a model this evening, so I think we're going to try and keep the camera a little bit on you guys, and not so much on the screen, just simply because we may have some student names and other things come up.
Thank you.
I was a science teacher for 10 years, and this year is my first year as an ITRT, and I serve Page County Middle School and Page County High School. What I have up is my teacher page, and when I pulled this up earlier, it was nice to see that somebody's like, well, my kids doesn't look like this. The teacher one does look different, but essentially it is the same. So what I have up here, I have an announcement for my kids. So I set up an announcement to tell them when stuff is going to be due. I was pretty lenient in the beginning to let everybody get used to it. Didn't make any sense to me to be like, this is due tomorrow, when we're not sure that everybody had access to what needed to be done. So that's what you can do. You can pin announcements at the top. I tried to make it a little, I like to use the word cute. And every day I post this for the kids. And so it tells them what they're going to do that day. So when they log in, the first thing they get to, when they click my science class, they see this. And it says, here's what you're doing today. When I start class, that's how I started class. So when I start my online Schoology, as that as well. When I get into my material, so that's called an update. So you can do announcements and your list of what you can do an update, and you can do this every day. When I go to my materials, I set them up by days because that's how I taught. I taught in days. So I set them up in days. So the first week, I have put those into a folder that's the 10th through the 18th. So they know where stuff is if they need to go back. So if somebody missed something, I'm like, you need to check the September 14th folder. They go and check that folder, and they know exactly where they're looking for stuff. So I try to publish for the week. I have one more thing I need to put in Friday's folder. So what you can do, you could put, if you got ahead, you could put a month's stuff in here and publish it a week at a time. So it's pretty, once you get the hang of it, it's pretty user-friendly. You can make it colorful. You can make it interactive. And I wanted to show you some of the stuff that we've done so far. So for today, Monday the 20th, This is their notes. So with their notes, they do notes just like they do in class. They can actually make their screen a side-by-side. The first day of teaching, we did a side-by-side screen, so we learned how to do that. So it's learning the steps of how to teach just in a different way. Down here, I go through the notes, so I go through my slideshow just like I would, and I tell them all the things that's important. I say, you need to remember this, and I go through that stuff there, and you hear my voice once, so I'm not going to click this video and make you hear it twice. So, I can show you the example. So if I click back this breadcrumb here at the top, it takes me automatically back to my update page. So if a kid doesn't know what to do next, they can look down here and they can see what to do next. This is for me to post things right here, so that's why that's there. So we also have gradebook and those types of things as setups. We have other apps that we can connect to it. One of the most used apps I think might be BrainPop is used. High schoolers don't have BrainPop, but it's used for middle and elementary a lot. Newsella, we've used that as well. Edpuzzle, those are some of the apps that came with our using of Schoology. So those came with, so it can be something that's more than just watching a teacher talking to a screen with a PowerPoint. You can really do different things when you put your mind to it. So we've got all those options down here. You can look at analytics. So it's really cool that analytics, you can see who's been where today. So I can see that this kid logged in today. Last time they were on my class is this. The total time they've spent on Schoology today is this time. So you can really see who has been doing their work, who's not somebody that's been doing these types of things here. So we've got those. We also have, we can look at the gradebook, we can look at those things, but it's also neat to see how you can grade some things there. So here's 10 things I haven't graded so far. So we're doing some things that they're using an online simulator just like they would in my regular class, but they're just doing it by themselves. You can submit your assignments as you type things up. You can submit things that you have made on Google Docs or Google Slides. And it's really intuitive on knowing what you want to do, and as long as you can follow some simple steps, I think you can make the most out of it. We are required to have office hours, so I know some of the things other teachers are doing, not only during office hours, but they are allowing kids to set up personal office hours that they email them and say, yes, I'll help you with math for an hour. I had a teacher call me today and had to fix a technology problem during her hour with this kid, and we got those things straight, and both of them were a lot happier when they finished this. There is some little hiccups that, you know, that always happens, but I mean, all in all, I think that everybody, if you put your mind to it, it's something that can be a very useful tool in the situation that we're in. Okay.
Thank you. We have attendance report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I've placed a document in front of those of you that are in person, and those that are on the call. Hopefully we can get this to you somehow and so that they can see. We have, as a school division, been tracking the average daily membership as part of our attendance. We know that there were students, families that had the option to select two different models prior to the beginning of the 2021 school year. And so we wanted to begin to take a look, now that we're getting closer to that September 30th deadline, where things kind of fell out. You see at the top, we have budgeted an ADM of 3214. As of late last week, we were at 3104, meaning those are the number of students that we could go in and actually account for, which said that we were approximately 110 students behind in the ADM calculation. Down below, you start to see a little bit of how we came about that 110. You can see that we have lost approximately 40 students to homeschool instruction, which was one of the choices for families. We did lose a few students to just other online instructional programs. We had a few more apply for religious exemption. Several of the private or religious schools here have captured some of Page County students. So that left us with a grand total of approximately 87 students that had transferred out in some shape or form or fashion. We did have another 89 that we did get back, but then when we looked at some other places, we ended up with a net loss of 88 students. On the back of that document, you can see that there was approximately 15 students as of last week that we were still working on, kind of figuring out where they were. These are students that were possibly in other states and didn't want to name their location, or had turned off their phones and kind of thought that we were going to forget about them. Unfortunately, as of this afternoon, we've made contact with all but 3 of those students, and it doesn't look like any of those will be coming back to help us on the ADM count as well. You can see, I just put some other things that were kind of glaring statistics for us. Last year we had 254 graduates as a senior class, but we only had 197 kindergartners return. So right off the bat, we suffered a loss of 57 right there. And we can kind of think about it, some skepticism there about why that happened. Maybe there are families that didn't send their kindergartner back to school because of the virus, but it is reality there for us. If you go back to the top, you see, as was stated here this evening, the state does provide financial support for individual student, and you can see that number at the top of your page, and you can see the financial impact that the 110 that we're currently down is having for us at this time.
Are there questions for Mr. Benson regarding the enrollment report?
This is Jackie. Will we get a copy of that?
Sure, we'll email you a copy, Ms. Sullivan-Smoot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benson. Mr. Moran, crisis plan.
Good evening, board members. This is the second informational for our crisis plan. As a reminder, this is a plan that's a collaborative effort with emergency services here in Page County. It encompasses anything that might happen to some of our schools in a crisis and the actions we would take if those things did occur. I can answer any questions you might have. Again, it is a mandated plan that we submit to the state.
Any questions for Mr. Moran regarding the crisis plan?
I'll bring this back as an action item next time.
Thank you. At this time, we move on to the board discussion period.
Well,
I have one point that I'd like to put out there. I had a parent ask me about, I guess, some of the assignments from teachers. They're being asked to do a split screen. And with the Chromebooks, they didn't know whether it was, they didn't understand how to do it or get it right or whatever. So I was just wondering if Blake or someone could put out an overall instruction on how to do that, or what to do or what not to do, if that's being requested in some type of assignment.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
the ecology teacher at Lurie High School already has a loom on hers for it.
Other comment from board members?
I jotted something down. I want to thank the 10 families that came to speak tonight, because I know that took a lot of, not really guts, but they really had to be feeling it inside to take time out of their evening to come speak to us. And I want them to know that we do hear you. I'm a Lurie High School parent, and I do understand Schoology is not my friend either, but I don't call it names anymore. I do understand the stress and extra workload on teachers and parents because I'm also an elementary school principal and I have in-person students and virtual learning, and I get 5 million technology calls every day, and I hear it too all day and all evening with my own child. I want you to know that we as a school board relied on central office suggestions for how we return to learn. We were proposed 3 options because, as Mr. Grimley said, we don't rule day-to-day operations. They know all the nuts and bolts to it. So we picked our poison, and we wanted to keep safety as a first priority. I also want parents to know that we're trying to put steps in place to bring kids back. And I ask that you extend grace to your child's teacher, your child's principal, central office staff, and the board. I personally am one of you. I face the same struggles both as a parent and a school administrator. And as suggested by Mr. Baker when he spoke, I will continue praying for our schools and our decisions, and we hope for the same from you all. And I can probably use prayers in about 20 minutes when I take on Schoology work with my own teenager. That's all.
Thank you. Others?
Yes, I'd like to say one more thing. Last week, I sat in on a 3-hour webinar for Title IX. And I just want to say hats off to everybody in our school system that works with Title IX. I had no idea everything that was involved every single day. That's just one thing that they're working on, and I just want to say thanks to those who work with that. And I know why we have to have it, and I certainly agree with all that, but I had no idea everything that was involved to make it all go. And if I could say anything else to parents, I appreciate your insight and wanting your children back in school. And if we could snap our fingers and make it work right now, I don't think there would be any question. But we will definitely take a look at it. Patience sometimes is not easy. I don't think there's anybody sitting in the board office tonight that hasn't had the utmost patience and probably burnt out by now because of all the changes that have occurred and continue to occur every day. But there's no question, and I do believe this. I don't think anybody in this country ever realized everything that a school system does for a child until we got shut down. And so we're all working together. There's no doubt in my mind that, we'll do everything that we possibly can to make it the best for everybody. And I do appreciate parents coming out, and I do appreciate everybody in that school board office who's been working diligently to make all this work so far.
Thank you.
I'll add to what Jackie said. Our school leaders are constantly weighing the importance of instruction versus the safety of our students and staff. These decisions that they make are not made lightly. The safety of our teachers, especially those that are at higher risk, needs to be addressed as well. And, those all need to be accounted for. I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Mr. Painter?
Yes. So, likewise, I appreciate the parents that came out. Some of them were my cousins, and one young lady makes sure my teeth are healthy, and I would love to keep them all happy because of that. To the administration, we're winning. It may not feel like it because of the extra pressure, but we've won a lot since we started. And you need to take that and communicate that with the people that's making it happen. We're staying open. We have small cases. We've had challenges that we've overcome. So you've done a good job on that. And I give the cabinet, Blake, everybody here, and Dr. Gonzalez a lot of credit for that. I consider a lot of what we've done is being heroic. One thing that's very clear to me, and it's been from the beginning, is our high schoolers. I've heard from them, and we need to start doing some activities for them. I mentioned it when we decided some time ago that we should have maybe some intramural type stuff. I just would encourage you to re-look at some of those things. Can we have some social time outside, social distance? If you want if you want everybody to wear a mask, but give them something that they can do that's positive, because they're sitting at home feeling lonely and isolated, and that's a shame. It really is. But that's the hand that's dealt us. I appreciate some of the comments already today in the meeting and closed session, different things, of how we're pushing to add more people into the schools. And let's continue to do that and try to keep everybody as safe as Mr. Goober said. You know, there's some people that we need to make sure that they're safe, but we need to work hard to see if we can get more things back open, because it's very clear how the parents feel, and I understand it. But I appreciate everything y'all have done. We've won a lot of days. You need to pat some people on the back for that.
Other comments? I'll finish up by saying I agree wholeheartedly with what the board members have said. I know that during the day that goes by, that people sitting in the school board office aren't discussing getting things back, bringing people back in. And when we have the opportunity to do that, let's jump on it as quickly as we can. I think Mr. Painter brings up a very good point that we should attempt to make available whatever we can for students to get together and socialize and not just be alone. And it's by, you decide if you're going to participate or not, but make some sort of opportunities available. That being said, meeting adjourned.